Nas Daily has millions of social media followers. Over the years, he's put out a lot of videos that are pro-Israel in their message. Recently, he put out a video on the religion of Judaism, and it's pure Zionist propaganda. I want to react to this video. What's interesting is that Nas is Palestinian, and he also claims to be Muslim. But we're going to look exactly if that claim to be Muslim is true. Now let's get straight into the reaction.
Spent 1 full month studying his religion, Judaism. Shalom Aleichem, my friends.
I read Jewish books. I talked to Jewish rabbis. I celebrated Jewish holidays and flew all the way to the holiest city in Judaism, Jerusalem.
And now I understand why 22% of Nobel Prizes go to Jews. So interesting.
That's weird because this video is supposed to be about the religion of Judaism, but not all of the Jews who have won Nobel Prizes are actually religious. Some of them are actually atheists. Also, isn't it kind of a supremacist claim to say that this many Jews have won the Nobel Prize? We often see Zionists use this to argue that Palestinians or Arabs are not as productive or useful to civilization as Jews are because they haven't won as many Nobel Prizes. Imagine if a white person made this kind of argument and said, oh, well, 55 to 78% of Nobel Prizes have been won by whites or white Protestants. We would find this kind of a strange claim to make and perhaps even racist. So why is this such a prominent feature of this video on Judaism? We'll see Nas bring it up again later in the video.
I have never seen such a thing. But first, some background.
I am on a 6-month challenge to study the top 6 religions, one every month. Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and even atheism.
The atheism video has already come out, and in that he is mainly talking to Yuval Harari, who interestingly is also Jewish and a Zionist. So even in his atheism video, he's kind of promoting this Zionist intellectual who is also a transhumanist and works with the World Economic Forum. So that's just an interesting note.
This is what I learned from Judaism. There are only 16 million Jews in the world, but Judaism influenced billions of Muslims and Christians. Because Judaism was the first religion to believe in the idea of one God, indivisible and infinite. Yeah.
And this is completely false. Judaism was not the first monotheism or the first religion to believe in one God. You have these kinds of monotheistic currents found in ancient Egypt, in Mesopotamia, in Babylonia. So this claim that it's the first monotheistic religion, this is just simply false. And arguably, it was Islamic monotheism that really influenced Judaism to become strictly monotheistic. Because when we look at the history of Judaism before 700 or 600 BCE, we find many polytheistic characteristics or features. You have doctrines within even different variants of the Hebrew Bible that talk about a divine council, or talk about the sons of God, or the idea of bitheism. You also have henotheism that's featured in the Hebrew Bible. And if you watch the debate I had between myself and a Jewish scholar, I bring up all the evidences about how Judaism has these polytheistic currents. So definitely check out that debate if you want to know about the history of polytheism in Judaism. It was only after the Muslims influenced Jews closer to 1000 CEE or the 11th century that you find Judaism becoming strictly monotheistic in the form that it is now. So really, Islamic monotheism is older than Jewish monotheism. Also, just a reminder to watch Haqiqatjou. If you like this type of analysis, we have a show 2 or 3 times a week live. You can watch it, the Haqiqatjou, so please watch it.
God revealed himself to Prophet Abraham, who became the first Jewish person ever. This was the beginning of monotheistic religion.
So even Jewish scholars dispute that Abraham was Jewish or the first Jewish person. So you can see Chabad.org, for example, where there's a discussion and a debate on whether he was actually the first Jew. This is what Jews are saying themselves about Abraham.
So before Judaism, there was the idea of many different gods, idol worship, paganism, many different tribes. Abraham started Judaism, which talked about one God, and from that we see Islam and Christianity and the whole monotheistic ideal.
So it started from Abraham.
That's right.
And do you like Abraham?
A great man.
Really hard-hitting questions. Do you like Abraham? This is Nas Daily's questioning. So if Abraham was the first monotheist, then what about Adam, Prophet Adam? Or what about prophets like Noah? Was Noah a polytheist? If not, then wasn't he earlier than Abraham as a monotheist? So this is confusing.
3,000 years later, Judaism became a major religion with tens of prophets, hundreds of commandments, thousands of rabbis, and one homeland, here in Israel.
So right here we have a mosque, a synagogue, and a church in the same spot. Because this is the HQ of monotheistic religions.
That's right. This is the vortex, the center of spirituality.
So Nas Daily is talking about a mosque, a synagogue, and a church. But Jews don't believe that Christianity is monotheistic. They believe that it's idolatry. So this rabbi didn't really correct him on his misunderstanding of Judaism.
In 2024, people think of Israel when they think of Jews. But Israel is a country and Judaism is a religion. And this video is about the religion, not the country. So what can we learn from Judaism?
Okay, so he's saying that this video is about the religion of Judaism. It's not about a country or a nationality, it's about a religion. So why did you highlight the Nobel Prizes at the beginning? Because again, there were a lot of them were atheist Jews. They weren't practicing Judaism. They were just ethnically or racially Jewish. So this is one of the big inconsistencies so far in this video.
First, I learned how to have friends. Judaism is the religion of friends. It is more than just a religion. It is a peoplehood, a community.
Judaism isn't a religion, it isn't a nation, it isn't a race, it isn't a culture. Judaism is a family.
But Nas just said he's looking at Judaism as a religion, and the rabbi is saying it's not a religion. So what is it?
Israel is a country and Judaism is a religion.
Judaism isn't a religion.
What?
Abraham
Yeah, so this is inconsistent.
had a son, and then from that family came the Jewish people.
A white Jew, a brown Jew, and a black Jew have very similar DNAs. What?
So this is bizarre, it basically, you're saying that Judaism is a family, but that's just like a very PC way to say that it's like an ethnicity or it's a racial group. Having similar DNA, like that's the whole idea behind an ethnicity or a race or biological lineage. So it's more PC to say, oh, this is just a family. What if like some of these white supremacists said, oh, it's not about the supremacy of our race as white people, we're just a big family. White supremacy is all about family values and keeping together the white family. So this is not really dealing with the racial component of Judaism. And then to say that, oh, well, we have black Jews as well. This is not taking into account how so many black Jews face all kinds of racism within Israel and apartheid as well. And we'll get into some of those details. And it's based off of actual Jewish religious texts. We'll look at some of that later in the video.
Because they all descend from Jacob, the grandson of Abraham.
Okay, so if Jews are the descendants of Jacob, then why was Abraham considered the first Jew or the first Jewish person? Wouldn't all of the descendants of Abraham be Jewish if he was the first Jew? So if they're all descended from Jacob, who is the grandson of Abraham, this doesn't really add up, because it would mean that all the descendants of Abraham, which includes Arabs, by the way, would be considered Jews. Because Abraham, even according to the Jewish belief, is the father of many nations. So all of those nations aren't Jewish, right? So how can he be the first Jew? This is not adding up.
Yeah, Yeah, you can know if someone is Jewish based on their DNA. No other religion has this.
That's false. That's completely false. So you have ethnic-based religions or biologically-based religions. Judaism is one. You have the Hindu caste system. So that's also based off of birth and lineage. You have shamanism. You have Chinese ancestral worship. You have many different religions that you can study in anthropology or the comparative religious studies that are ethnic-based. It's not just Judaism. And again, like you're referencing DNA, like, oh, you can determine someone is Jewish by their DNA. Well, that means it's like a kind of ethno-racial type of deal. And, you know, how politically correct is that? And why isn't there these implications of racism or racial supremacy that comes with that kind of doctrine?
And today, Jews are really good at building community.
Yeah, so community is good, building community. But if that community type of mentality creates apartheid, which we find in Israel, or this kind of Jewish supremacy, unfortunately, we see some Jewish extremists preach this Jewish supremacy. We see Zionists are preaching it, and this is creating apartheid. It's creating ethnic cleansing. You have a large proportion of Jews in Israel who believe that the land of Israel should be completely cleansed of Arabs. 50% or more of Israeli Jews believe this. So this is, yeah, it's strong community. You can put a positive spin on it. Like, this is just the strong communal values of Judaism. Yeah, that is a positive until it leads into this kind of apartheid or ethnic cleansing, etc. So this is not just based off of, you know, something that Zionists have made up. This is based on the actual Jewish scriptures, such as the Torah, such as the Talmud, other rabbinic texts. So we can look at some of these. So Deuteronomy, for thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. So this is within the Hebrew Bible or the Old Testament. And this is talking about Jews being above all people, the chosen people. So this is a kind of supremacist doctrine that we find within the Torah. You also have within the Talmud, the Bava Metzia 114b, Jewish people are called men, but Gentiles are not called man. So this is a racial distinction between Jews, and non-Jews or Gentiles are, according to the Talmud, not even considered human beings. So, you know, make sure to go and check these references. You can go to Sefaria, for example. It's a Jewish online resource, and find these quotes and read them in context so that you can't accuse me of taking things out of context. You also have within the Jerusalem Talmud, kill the best of Gentiles, smash the head of the best of snakes. So a lot of dehumanizing language applied within these scriptures against non-Jews. You have Sanhedrin 108b, which is also in the Talmud, which is anti-black racism, talking about how one of the children of Noah, he engaged in a misdeed within the ark, so God punished him with black skin. This is anti-black racism in the Talmud. And then also in the Torah, you see the word kushi, which means a black person, and black people are disqualified from performing certain temple services. This is also in the Talmud. So this Nas Daily is not going to read about these texts or present them for obvious reasons. And it's not just the religious texts. This is what affects a lot of the racist or supremacist attitudes that we find within Israel inspired by these texts. So we see, for example, the Israeli chief rabbi calls African Americans monkeys. This was a big scandal. This is from 2018. This is modern racism inspired by religious texts. This is no, random Joe Schmo. This is the chief rabbi of Israel. Then you have another example from one of the top yeshivas in Israel, B'nai David, some of the videos from that school got leaked, and the top rabbi in that school was talking about enslaving Arabs, how Jews are a superior race. He was even praising Hitler for some reason, and this recording, you can find it online as well. So these are the manifestations of racism that come out based off of Jewish religious scriptures. Now, I should say that not all Jews will accept this kind of racism. It's only extremist Jews who are taking these texts literally and applying them. Those are the problematic Jews that we see, but many Jews, as we know, will reject the traditional Jewish understanding, the traditional religious scriptures as well. So we don't need to paint all Jews with the same brush.
In Judaism, you don't eat alone. Every Friday night, millions of Jews gather in their homes with family and friends for dinner. And in these dinners, they eat the same bread, say the same prayers. This is called Shabbat. And it is so important that some Jews never miss it.
I'm married almost 19 years. I have never once missed a Shabbat at home with my wife and kids.
In 19 years.
Never, not once.
The second thing I learned in Judaism is how to argue, debate, disagree, say no to each other, fight, argue again and again and again.
No, it doesn't make sense. Because the whole point of saying that retroactively it works is only if it doesn't have a sin because you're eventually going to realize you lost it and then you're going to be mayat.
They're not actually fighting. They're just studying. I have never seen such a thing.
Because there are bad arguments and there are good arguments. Bad arguments are,
That's
I hate
intense.
you, I want to put you down, I want to enforce my opinion and my values on you. Good arguments is, I want to fight it out with you so that we can both come to the truth and we can come closer to each other through the argument. And Jews love a good argument.
Yeah, so the claim is that if you argue a lot, you're going to get closer to the truth, but logically that doesn't make sense. What if you already know the truth, or the truth is very clear, and then you just argue for the sake of argument? You're not going to come closer to the truth. It can actually take you away from the truth. And what's interesting is that the Quran actually mentions this in Surah Al-Baqarah, examples of how Bani Israel, the children of Israel, would engage in this kind of argumentation unnecessarily. Even with the prophets, even with Moses, they engaged in this kind of argumentation unnecessarily, or they quibbled about details, and that was a source of misguidance for them and going astray, getting further and further away from the truth, getting further and further away from God. So it's interesting that they view this as something positive within their religion, when in fact it can be argued that it's just the opposite.
The way Jews study is done in pairs of two who are supposed to debate religion. It's called Chavruta, which comes from the word friend, chaver.
Does anybody here get offended
Bye.
by somebody disagreeing with you and telling you you're wrong?
The goal is
On the same team all the time. All on the same team.
the goal is mutual.
This is not painting a positive portrayal of Jews, because they answered, oh, we don't get offended because we're all on the same team. Okay, well, how about argumentation with other people who are not on your same team? Like, isn't that the real test of if you are respectful and you are able to engage honestly with others? As long as you're on the same team, yeah, everyone can get along with people who are on the same team, but what about people who are not on the same team?
In Judaism, debating is part of the religion, and no one gets killed or harmed for having a different opinion.
So it's two friends getting together to fight each other, but fight for the truth. And when we finished and we close our books, then we shake hands and we have a hug and we go and eat together and pray together.
This is not exactly true. You need to go and read the reference for law against Masira. You can Google it and read about it. But basically, there are cases where if two Jews disagree, then one Jew has to kill the other Jew. And the details of that I can't really share. Go and look it up. But this is a very clear case where none of this sugarcoating is the case. You know, there's very steep consequences with the law against Masira and the Moser. So please check that out.
Jews like to argue because we are completely devoted and committed to finding the truth.
And maybe that is why 22% of Nobel Prizes go to Jewish scientists.
Because of these two major factors, the culture of arguing for the truth and the drive to improve the world and make it a better place, put those two things together, you're going to win lots of Nobel Prizes.
That's a lot of them.
A lot of them. Baruch Hashem. Thank God.
Again, it's kind of supremacist, like other religions or other groups are not committed to the truth or making the world a better place. And also, I mean, I wouldn't be so triggered by this argument that they've brought up twice in this video if it weren't for the fact that Zionists over the past 6 or 7 months, because of this war between Israel and Palestine, they keep bringing up this Nobel Prize facts, and they use it in a kind of racist way against Arabs and Palestinians. So here are some tweets, for example. It's hilarious. Can you remind me how many Nobel Prizes there are for Palestinian education and how many for Israelis? All evidence to the contrary. Palestinians value death cults and Jew hatred above all else. Polling confirms it. Might explain why you could write the names of Palestinian Nobel Prize winners on the back of a napkin, a cocktail napkin. So this is racist stuff that you see here. You can read, pause and read these. And then this cartoon that they have spammed. Like, I've seen this cartoon posted on my tweets over and over again. Muslims are praying and it's worthless, but Jews win Nobel Prizes. So who's really making a difference for humanity? This is a lot of racist argumentation coming out of Zionists, and Nas Daily is just repeating it.
Now, let's not forget, I am Muslim and he's Jewish. And history between us was not that pretty.
That's true, but our holy books teach that Jews and Muslims and the whole of humanity are going to live together in peace.
Yeah, so this idea of Jews and Muslims living in peace, this is not found in the eschatology of either Judaism or Islam. So if you want to read more about what Jews believe about what happens in the end of times, according to the religious tradition, check out the Talmud, Shabbat 32b. And there's a reference there that I think is very significant for you. You can see it on the screen. But yeah, so he's sugarcoating things. He's not portraying Orthodox Judaism. He's not representing the actual religious scriptures of Jews. So that's something to keep in mind.
This is the beauty of Judaism that we can take home with us to make the world a little bit better.
Actually, a lot better.
A lot better.
Yeah, so I will say something positive about Jews. You have Jews today who are fighting against genocide, fighting against apartheid. You have Jewish public figures and intellectuals who are speaking in defense of Palestinians. And these are, I think, positive figures within Judaism. Jews like Norman Finkelstein, Noam Chomsky, Max Blumenthal, Glenn Greenwald, Dan Cohen, Aaron Matei, and many others that could be mentioned. So not all Jews share these kinds of extremist views that are found in Jewish scripture. Many Jews reject those extremist and intolerant teachings. So we should be fair and point out those Jewish public intellectuals who are doing good to fight against what the rest of the Jewish community is doing and causing a lot of corruption, a lot of destruction to innocent lives because of racist, extremist ideology. Also, let's look more closely at Nas Daily. It was interesting that he was awarded by the ADL. The ADL is an Islamophobic extremist organization based out of the US. It's been roundly condemned by many people, many activists as well, politicians as well, have condemned the ADL because of its Islamophobia, anti-Arab racism, and they have awarded Nas Daily with the Daniel Pearl Award just recently in this past year. So if the ADL is honoring you, that's not a very good sign, but they see Nas Daily as their special propagandist who can be a Palestinian, go viral, be famous, have millions of followers, and push Zionist propaganda. Also, what was interesting is that back in October, Nas Daily came out and said that, I am Palestinian ethnically, but I consider myself first and foremost an Israeli. My Israeli identity comes first, Palestinian as second. So this is quite shocking for someone to say that. And it makes me almost think that Israel might be holding like family members of his hostage or something, or he's worried for his life. They might be blackmailing him or something. I don't know. But this is a very shocking statement for a Palestinian to say that I'm Israeli first and kind of deny or belittle your Palestinian ethnicity. There's also the question of whether Nas Daily is actually Muslim. So check this out.
People around the world believe in radically different religions, and almost all of them think that they're right. If it wasn't obvious by now, too many people believe in too many different exclusive religions. And if one religion is actually right, then fundamentally everyone else is wrong. So who is right and who is wrong? I don't know. This is why I took a step back from religion. I still believe in God, but I cannot believe that other people are wrong simply for being born with a different religion.
Yeah, so he's not Muslim. He said similar things in many videos, and it's very clear. He doesn't know if Islam is right. So if you don't know Islam is right, Christianity could be right, Judaism could be right, Hinduism could be right, Satanism could be right, then you're not a Muslim. Very clear. So we shouldn't talk about Nas Daily as if he's a Muslim. He's absolutely not, until he retracts these kinds of views and repents for it. But this mentality that, oh, well, there are so many different religions, so there can't be one that is right, or we can't say anything definitively about one correct religion. Do you have that same idea about science? You know, there are different opinions about science, the validity of science, or within science itself, there can be multiple different views. Does that mean there's no objective truth? Obviously, we would reject that. Especially someone like him would say that, no, well, science, you know, there is one truth, there's one right answer, and then there are wrong opinions. The flat earthers are wrong. The climate denialists are wrong. You know, when it comes to science, then there is a one right answer, and it doesn't matter that there are all these different opinions, mutually exclusive opinions. There's a one right answer. Now, someone might react to that and say, well, but science is based in facts and observation and the scientific method, so it's very different from religion. Okay, then what about morality? Morality, especially liberal morality, what if people say, well, on the issue of women's rights, there's all kinds of opinions. Some people think that women shouldn't have any rights. Some people think that women should have maybe 50% rights or 100% or a different set of rights. There's all these different opinions. So who's right and who's wrong? Nas Daily wouldn't take that kind of position. He would say, no, his views would align with a kind of liberal 21st century Western morality of liberalism. So he wouldn't take this kind of relativistic position when it comes to liberal moral claims or human rights claims. On those kinds of moral issues, there's also a right answer, and then there are the wrong answers. The Taliban is wrong. You know, the fascists are wrong. These are the kinds of absolutist claims that are made by liberals. But morality, there's no science behind it. There's no objective facts that you can observe with a telescope or a microscope about moral claims, yet they're absolutists when it comes to liberal morality. But religion, oh, there's just so many different opinions. There can't be one right answer. This is all nonsense.
If Prophet Muhammad was alive today, he would look at Andrew Tate and say, this is the anti-Islam. If he
Okay, so now Nas Daily is talking about Andrew Tate and basically slamming Andrew Tate, saying, oh, if the Prophet were alive today, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet would slam Andrew Tate and say he's anti-Islam. This is interesting, because Andrew Tate obviously converted to Islam, and I'm not endorsing everything that Andrew Tate says or does. Obviously, he says things that are problematic according to Islam. But it's funny to see Nas Daily criticizing Andrew Tate.
didn't adopt this, I'm a Muslim and I follow Islamic rules and laws now, then I'll be like, okay, it's fine, you can have a Bugatti and preach and stuff. I don't care. I don't care. But to go and pretend to be Muslim, have sex with women, drink alcohol, and do materialistic crap all the time, which is everything is anti-Islamic, right? Yeah. I think that's just like fake.
What?
So the irony of Nas Daily telling Andrew Tate, oh, why are you going out and saying that you're Muslim when everything that you do is contrary to Islam? Like the lack of self-awareness of this guy.
Hi! Over the past few months,
And this is what makes it really ironic. Like, look at what he says in this other separate video.
I got a lot of criticism for being a bad Muslim. When I showed you the gay capital of the world, Castro in San Francisco, I was called a bad Muslim. When I showed you alcohol in my videos, I was called a bad Muslim. When I showed you how prostitution is legal in Senegal, I was called a bad Muslim. When I drank, when I dated, when I traveled, I was told not to. If it isn't obvious by now, I'm not a religious Muslim, but I'm also not a bad one.
Yeah. So this is the irony of this. He wants to claim that, oh, your criticisms of me are invalid. I'm drinking, I'm dating. Don't tell me that I'm a bad Muslim. Yet he was doing the exact same thing for Andrew Tate. He was wagging his finger at Andrew Tate.
I don't force my beliefs on people. I don't oppress freedoms or ideas. A good Muslim, Christian, or Jew, or atheist is someone that keeps religion to themselves and appreciates the world for what it is. You change the world by leading by example, not by wagging your finger at everyone who disagrees with you.
So this whole video, Nas is wagging his finger at people who criticized him and people who disagreed with him. He's doing the finger wagging himself. He's saying, don't judge me. That's finger wagging. So the lack of self-awareness is just shocking.
We are not bad or good. We are just trying to live and let live.
We're not bad or good. So he's saying, don't talk about bad or good Muslim. We're just trying to live. But what did he just say 2 seconds ago?
A good Muslim, Christian, or Jew, or atheist is someone that keeps religion to themselves.
If Prophet
Yeah, so you keep religion to yourself. That's what makes you a good Muslim. And he said that, oh, but Muslims, it's not about good or bad. He contradicted himself like 3 times in a 30-second video. And then look at him once again, slamming Andrew Tate.
Muhammad was alive today, he would look at Andrew Tate and say, this is the anti-Islam.
I spent...
So wagging your finger at Andrew Tate. This guy is a clown. So I hope you enjoyed that reaction video. Nas Daily shouldn't be taken seriously. He is a psyop against Muslims. He is only pushing Zionist propaganda at this point. I'm going to be interested in seeing what he says about Islam. He's going to eventually be looking at Islam as a religion and doing a video. I bet you it's going to be a lot about like, oh, the true Islam has nothing to do with the extremists. You know, and he might point out to some kind of terrorist groups or whatever. And I agree, like, obviously Islam doesn't have anything to do with terrorism. But the interesting thing will be to see that he didn't say anything about Jewish extremists. I don't think he said anything about Hindu extremists or atheist extremists in his previous videos on those religions. But let's see what he says about Islam and if he brings in the extremism angle. If he does, that'll be a good indication that he's getting orders directly from Zionists who are telling him to play up that angle, especially given the war in Gaza. So I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. Check out Haqiqatjou if you want more analysis and reaction videos. I'll catch you on the next one.